Hey everybody, it's Patty with Cook, Cut, and Create once again. Today we're trying another recipe from the Taste of Home 2017 Most Requested Recipes. We're going to go to page 26 and we're going to try out these little cheddar meatloaves and see how they work out. What you're going to need today for your ingredients is you're going to need to have 1 large egg, 3/4 of a cup of milk, 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, 1/2 cup of quick oats, 1/2 cup of chopped onion, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 pound of ground beef. Now how you're going to get 8 servings out of 1 pound of ground beef, I don't know, but we're going to try it. You're going to need 2/3 of ketchup, whatever brand you choose. You're going to need 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. It just says brown sugar. I am using light brown sugar in this particular recipe. And 1.5 teaspoons of prepared mustard, which prepared mustard is your basic mustard you put on hamburgers, hot dogs, what have you. You're also going to want a 13x9 baking dish, and go ahead and put some shortening or butter or cooking spray in it. I've already put cooking spray in this. I'm going to put 6 of the loaves in here, and 2 of the loaves I'm going to try a couple of these little loaf dishes. I'm just curious to see how they're going to turn out. Alrighty. Now, once you've got everything together and you're ready to go, step over to your oven, preheat it to 350 degrees. Alright, go ahead and grab your bowl. Let's take a look at these directions. In a large bowl, whisk the egg and the milk. Alrighty, here we go, Mr. Egg. Alright, then here's our milk. So we're going to start whisking it together. And I do want to make a reminder to you, you're working with raw meat today. One good thing to remember is always wash your hands, of course, before cooking, but especially when you're working with raw meat, you want to really get up on your nails. And once you're done handling the meat, also go back and immediately scrub under your nails. Alrighty, we've whisked the 2 of those together. And next we're going to stir in the cheese and the oats. Stir in the cheese. I'll make sure I get all of the cheese out of there. Like I said, I make a mess. Mistakes and all. Reality, people. See? Tell me I don't make a mess. Alright, we're stirring in our cheese. Let's stir in our oats. And most people would probably just go ahead and dump them in there and go all at once, but I'm gonna make sure they're thoroughly stirred. Okay, we've stirred in our cheese, we've stirred in our oats. We need to stir in our onion and our salt. Okay, here's our onion. And of course, since it's frozen, it's gonna stick to it. And yeah, you could use the fresh, but I didn't feel like crying today. Okay, and salt is going to be 1/2 teaspoon. And I'm just going to take my salt this time. It's directly out of my salt shaker because I'm lazy today. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon. Alright. Now let's mix this together. Okay. And as you can see, we've kind of got it mixed up together. And next thing it says to do, crumble the beef over the mixture and mix it well. So, like I said, it calls for a pound of beef for 8 servings. This is just a hair over a pound. A pound doesn't look like much for 8 servings, but I have to remind myself, they're little, they're miniature, so we shall see. And it says to crumble it, so I'm literally just going to take it. And this is a 93% lean meat. Most folks would probably go 80-20, but one thing to remember about meat is the more fat that it has in it, the more it's going to shrink while you're cooking it, and that's why I tend to go with a leaner meat for meatloaves. Now, there have been times in the past, of course, where, financially, we had to go with the fatty meat because it was cheaper. But if you can get a leaner meat for your meatloaves, absolutely do it. And see, of course, I didn't crumble, so I'm kind of pulling it apart here. And we got to get it mixed in. And now, one thing I will say with the meatloaf, you're going to get your hands dirty. Okay, I'm setting this over here. I already have a pot of hot water with dish soap in it that I'm setting this into because it's raw meat. Alright, we're going to dive in and we're going to get it mixed together. And I'll tell you what, I chose this recipe. I absolutely love meatloaf. I've done varieties of meatloaf in the past. I have one in mind that I want to try that I'm creating on my own. It's got a bourbon-based barbecue sauce in it. Don't know how that's going to work, but we shall see. Now, one thing I will say, the amount of milk that goes in it it's making it kind of soupy. And let me tell you, this hamburger meat is cold. Wowie. Alright, once you have that done together, it says shape it into 8 loaves and then place it into your baking dish. Now, my meatloaves are usually not this well, shall we say, soupy. So, but it says to shape them into 8 loaves, so I can't really pop them out on anything and measure them out, so I'm going to just, well, shape into 8 loaves, I guess. And if I have to come back, I will. Okay, there's one. Trying to judge to get 8 of them out of here is a little interesting. This is interesting too. I have to say this is, yeah. And if you're someone who doesn't think that you can handle touching raw meat, then this is not going to be a recipe for you. That is for certain. Because this is a lot more moist than most meatloafs I put together. That's 4. And it looks like maybe if you just reach in and got kind of glob it, maybe pull a bit off of it and just kind of shape it in your hand. I'm kind of going for some long ones. I'll show them to you here in just a minute. And I kind of hate taking up the time of the video by shaping these, but like I said, I'm just going to do 6 in the baking dish, and then I want to do 2 in the little loaf pans. So I've got 6 in there. They seem to be relatively uniform, and I'm going to take the rest of this meat and split it up into the bowl here and try to scrape the side stuff. Okay, and these are my prepared dishes that I've, these little low pans, because I'm curious. And I can say right now, that's not going to do it, so I think I'm just going to do a single one with what's left. So I'll actually have 6 in the baking dish, and I'll have 1 in the loaf pan. Because I'm kind of curious. Okay, I'm going to step away for just a minute, and I'm going to wash my hands off and go ahead and get this bowl going. Alright guys, I'm back, and I have washed my hands, touching me again. But I'll recommend, if you have a fingernail brush somewhere, grab a fingernail brush that you can use under the water to get up underneath fingernails. It really, really does help. But this is the one that I put in the little loaf pan. It was actually 2 of the smaller loaves that I put into 1 here. So, and then the individual ones currently look like that. They are, there's, you know, to me that's not enough meat. But I guess, you know, if you have a lot of options, or if you're just not a big meat eater, this might be perfect. But that's what they look like at the moment. So I have 6 in there, and then this is actually 2 together. Alright, next directions. Next we are going to, in a small bowl. I don't have a small bowl set out. Uh-oh, guys. I don't have a small bowl. Oh boy. I need a small bowl. Well, I'll tell you what. Not big yet. There we go. My go-to bowls. Okay. Now, in a small bowl, we're going to combine the ketchup, the brown sugar, and the mustard. So, the ketchup. Whee! And of course, I went ahead and pre-measured everything. I think in the future videos, I'm just going to go ahead and have everything pre-measured. Okay, the brown sugar. Now, even though it's packed, I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up before I drop it in there. And see, and this time I'm not really whisking in between. And now it's going to be 1.5 teaspoons of the mustard. And if it's been a while since you've used your mustard or your ketchup, before you squirt it into your food, get it to the top and then go over to the sink and squirt a little bit out, just to make sure it has not gotten watery. Because sometimes if it sits and you have not used it for a while, it can get watery. Okay, remind myself again, it's 1.5 teaspoons of mustard. This is 1/2 teaspoon that I'm using here, and it's kind of a big half. I'm not being exact on the mustard this time. Yeah, I'm just not going to be exact on that part. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, and we're just going to get it mixed together. And what it is this is effectively the topping for the meatloaf. Now I will say this much, growing up our meatloaves did not have any kind of topping on them. My mother loved to do a bell pepper and onion meatloaf, but my mother always typically made 2 kinds of meatloaves. one with bell pepper and onion in it and the other one with nothing in it. But we never did top it. It wasn't until I met my husband and he told me, oh, you have to put ketchup on top of your meatloaf. Well, I started putting ketchup on half of it, and then I've grown to like the ketchup on top of it. But I have visited other places where there's been some really unique flavors mixed into the ketchup and stuff. But when I have to say, the mixture of the cheese and everything of the loaves smells really good. This, because of the brown sugar, smells really good. Now it says once you've got it mixed together, you're going to spoon it over your loaves. And because of the brown sugar, one thing I want to make sure everybody knows, because you've got brown sugar in this, or anytime you use sugar in a liquid like this, it's always going to be slightly grainy. Just to give you a heads up if you've never used it. But you're just going to spoon it over. And what I'm going to do, I'm just simply going to eyeball it. I will come back to each one because I know I'm just going to, I've never made this recipe before, so this is new to me. I'm going to just spoon it over each one, like so. Go ahead and, I'm actually, as far as the one that's in this little loaf pan, I'm actually going to put enough into it so that I can kind of spread it out like this and spread it to the edges. Not completely covered, but it's close enough. And I've still got quite a bit in here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop some more on each of these. And it's loose enough, it seems to go ahead and work its way down the sides. But of course you can help it out. The difference between what's going to be in the baking dish versus what's in the loaf pan, so the one in the loaf pan is not going to have any on the sides. These in the baking dish will. That may make a difference in how they cook or how they taste. I have a feeling that more than likely it's going to come out to a situation of personal preference as to how you prefer it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to experiment. But remember that when I did this, when I did the little loaf, it actually took what would have equated to 2 of the small ones to go into one of the mini loaves. And these are just the little miniature loaves. I picked these up recently at Michael's on clearance, so it wasn't too bad. But at this point, I'd say they are ready for the oven. So my oven, the beeping you heard earlier was the oven say, hey, I'm ready. So we're going to pop these into the oven, and we're going to bake them uncovered for 25 to 30 minutes or until they're no longer peak inside. Or if you have a meat thermometer, it reads 160 degrees. So I'm going to pop these in the oven, and I'll be back as soon as they're finished. See you shortly. Alright guys, we're back. And guess what? It's out of the oven. And here's what the loaves in the glass pan look like. It's a little, runny and stuff, but that's the grease rolling up out of the meat. And so I will say that, and these have sat for about 5 minutes now. The loaf pan, the little loaf pan, looks delicious. When it first came out, it had the grease sitting on top. At this point, it's run down to the sides. So I'm not sure, which is going to be better, but we are going to find out. I'm going to take, and I actually wound up having to cook these for 30 minutes instead of the 25 to 30. No, it's 35 minutes, 35 minutes. It was 35 minutes, pardon me. So it's 35 minutes. I'm actually going to scoop the one that I kept checking, which happens to be the smaller out of them. I'm going to scoop that one out. And I'm actually going to set this over here to the side. There we go. Now this is once again, this is the little loaf one. This is my experiment. A lot of times you'd probably just want to serve it here, but I'm going to see if there is a way that I can take, it's cooled off. Oh yes, I'm going to be able to lift this out, it looks like. Not with this though. Let me go grab a long cake spatula. Oh, there we go. Cake spatula to the rescue. See if we can't. Oh yeah, see, and I did spray it beforehand because I didn't run a knife or anything down around it. See, well, okay. If you were paying attention though, you probably would put it straight in there. Okay then, good to know. So here we go, let's compare the two. We're going to set this out of the way. And so this is the little individual loaf where it recommends doing 8-shaped loaves in the baking dish. This is 2 of the small loaves put together in one of the small loaf pans. Pretty side stuff. And of course, if you do them in the loaf pans, you're not going to get the glaze all the way down the sides. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to try both of them. And of course, I love meatloaf, so trying 2 of them is not going to be a big deal. And we're going to see just what happens. So we're going down into this one here. And I will say, with these, and it's probably because of the cheese in it, I'm used to meatloafs being the dark brown and sometimes crispy all the way down. These are just a really good even brown color. But this is the one from the baking dish. Oh my gosh. My husband will love these. The glaze is sweet because of the brown sugar. Now, with the loaf one, the edges, because they're up against the loaf pan, actually crisp up a little bit more. Now remember, if you put them in the loaf pan, you don't get the glaze all the way down. But, okay, yeah. It absolutely works. And I know my face is not in the frame. I do apologize for that. But you're here for the meat, not for me. Guys, can I just go ahead and sit here and eat this whole thing? Like anybody would mind? Wow. I will say, no matter which way you cook them, be it individually, in the baking dish, that way, and this dish is still hot, or in a miniature loaf pan, they both taste the same, they both cook the same. The only caveat being is I did have to cook them for 35 minutes instead of 30 minutes. So it's going to depend upon your oven. Of course, my pups, Sammy is right here beside me. You see his little ears. There he is. Hi, Sammy. Everybody say hi. Oh, he went to the door. They're delicious. And when my dogs are like, yep. Now, I think the only thing I would do is probably with the onions. If you're not a big onion person, reduce maybe down to 1/4 cup instead of 1/2 cup. But, this is a winner, guys. This is a keeper for the books. My husband will love this. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and make some mashed potatoes and maybe some mac and cheese, maybe some biscuits to go with it so he can have dinner tonight. Sounds good to me. So, that's another winner. I am liking this one, and I wouldn't modify it too much at all other than cooking temperature. This is great. So I'm going to invite you to join me next time when I'm cooking and cutting and, of course, creating a mess. But my next video is finally going to be a craft project. I'm going to show you how to take a craft store pumpkin and turn it into a Thanksgiving fall centerpiece. That is, you can look at it from either side. Your kids can even do this. The little ones can even help you with this because they can get messy. But yeah, folks, I like it. I really like it. Guys, I'll see you next time. Bye. Guys, a note here towards the end of my video before I sign out and everything. I want to let you know, if you opt to put the meatloaf in the loaf pans, that's why I wanted to try, I wanted to see if it would be an option. It could be an option, but at this point I don't think I would recommend it. I've eaten through the majority of it. I've just about finished what was in the loaf pan, and I'll tell you why I would not recommend it. The bottom, because this is closed in pot, you know, a little closed in loaf pan here, has nowhere for the grease it's going to cook out of the meat to go to. It's going to settle at the bottom, which has created a very interesting texture issue. It creates this at the bottom that makes it very, very, how do I say this? Mushy. Mushy and a little bit greasy. Now, the longer it was sitting there while I'm eating it and stuff, you know, it was soaking further up into the meat. But I can tell you this much, I think, yeah, for me, and that's why I experiment. That's why I try these and stuff. You know, you want them to look nice and uniform, square, but no, don't do it. My recommendation is don't put them in loaf pans. Just put them in a baking dish individually. That way the grease has a chance to cook. Because remember when I first pulled this out and I came back on and I was talking about the grease and how it's kind of everywhere. Well, it needs to be. But that way it's cooking out of the meat and not into the meat. This is still delicious, let me tell you. Other than the very little bit at the bottom where the grease soaked into it and made it mushy, the rest of it is still delicious. When the husband gets to come home and try this, he's going to say, yeah, how come you haven't been making your meatloaf this way the whole time? Well, because I wasn't trying that recipe, honey. You know? Yeah. That's just how it goes. So, but yeah, my suggestion is, yeah, stay away from that pan. Just don't do it. Stick with the baking dish so they're open, the grease can run out and stuff like that, and you can lift them out of the pan to serve them. Don't do it in the baking dish, but I will tell you this much. I still think it's still good. See you later, guys.